rock.
Get my iPad set up because, you know, technology is going to make my presentation so much better.
You got 5 minutes.
What did I do last night? Did I stick to 5 minutes last night? I'm pretty sure that I didn't. You can forget the 5-minute rule, sir. You're going to forget the 5-minute rule today. Before I start talking about the national, I want to take a minute to really recognize the accomplishments of Eric and Mark, both in his business, Black Ink, and what is ProcurementCon. ProcurementCon has happened before, but this is the first annual, and as humble and simple as this is, the bringing together of people that need businesses to purchase goods and services from, and actually having the businesses come out and connect, and that turn into contracts. And Gladys, congratulations, by the way. Okay, she really is the picture of what persistence is. And she is a person that succeeds in spite of things not being available and very easy to find. She is sheer persistence. She is definitely the American story and the American dream. But back to Eric. Eric is a very difficult person to kind of turn down, you know? Since he wants to go into a little bit of our history, you know, I wasn't necessarily saying, hey, I'm gonna start a nonprofit with Eric. I mean, Eric goes about 1,000 miles per hour. It doesn't seem to require naps. I require naps from time to time. But what really struck me with Eric is he really does have a genuine heart. He does love F-bombs, but his F-bombs really come from a good place. The frustration that he has is the one that we all share, which is things are not simple, and we live in a complicated world, and there's not a direct ladder or a direct path to success in this state and in this country. We have a very big problem. And that's a little bit about what I want to talk to you today about. I will spend very little time talking about who I am, and I'll let you know who that is shortly, because many of you were here yesterday, and I don't want to repeat that again. But I am Rafael Mata, president of Gambit Services. And very briefly, I'm here with Eric, co-founding a nonprofit, because I'm a person that has spent his entire career serving the underrepresented, the underprivileged, and eventually I figured out that the small business community is possibly one of the most underrepresented and underprivileged. What do I mean by that? If I have a business that doesn't make enough money to pay for healthcare, I don't have healthcare. If I didn't get paid from my client when my client said that they were gonna pay, I don't make payroll. I don't get to pay myself. I have to pay all the bills first before anybody else gets paid. Bad things happen to small businesses, and there's no safety net for that. So here comes Eric with ProcurementCon, and I thought, what a great idea. Shouldn't the state be doing this? Shouldn't the county be doing this? Shouldn't different areas be doing this? But because there are so many different programs and funding comes from so many different places, there's so many different regulations, we really do live in a complicated world. You need a ProcurementCon. You need one neutral place where the people that are organizing it, their only interest is to see you succeed, to connect you to people that you otherwise wouldn't be able to access on your own. So that's ProcurementCon. So what's all this chair of the national stuff? Because that's what you're gonna hear a lot about in 2025, the national. What is the national? Along with the vice chair, Eric, board member, Mark, and we have a full board now, Marquise being one of our newest board members. I believe we have a quorum here today, actually. Speaking of rules, Eric, and running a board, which I do know how to do, we have a quorum, okay? So we can vote today on anything that you like. But I did choose, in my culmination of my career, seeing all the disconnects, seeing all the issues that small businesses were having. Keep in mind that in addition to working on multiple levels in government in this state, I've worked for large nonprofit organizations like Goodwill. I've worked in the healthcare industry. I've been around the block. Let's just say I'm not 20 anymore. And what I found is this in-depth information about how things don't connect for small businesses. I started my career in workforce development, and what are we all looking for all the time? We're looking for jobs. We need jobs. That's how the economy grows. But did you know that small businesses create the most jobs? So here I am as a workforce development professional, charged with trying to create job opportunities for a lot of New Jersey residents. And really all the programs are catered toward corporations or relatively large companies which don't make up a huge portion of all the businesses in New Jersey. That kind of turns into a mismatch. So having worked in and out of government and being a consultant that helps people navigate through government, helps them get contracts, helps them become procurement ready, I realized that most of the small businesses that need a person like me can't afford a person like me. And that really, really bothered me. In addition to that, when I worked in my government roles, there's not sufficient funding going to those programs. As Marquise mentioned earlier, he's one of the rare offices that has staff, which apparently might be a 4 or 5 letter word. I don't know if that's it, but staff in New Jersey government is not something that people are looking to fund. So other members that I just want to highlight before I paint a picture of what the actual problem is and what the National is going to look to address is we couldn't have Juliet Foster, Alicia Nightingale, and Dominic Belfiore here this evening. But if we can just give those folks a round of applause for being brave enough to take on what I'm about to describe. These are all leaders in small business. These are people that do it from the heart. And Eric will keep trying to tell you that he's a bad guy. He has a huge heart, all right? He has a huge heart, which he tries to cover a lot, right? So the National Center for Local Business and Workforce Development. What's the problem? What is the problem that we're looking to address? As of 2023, which doesn't even talk about how many new businesses are starting right now, New Jersey has 953,000 businesses registered. That's approximately 99% of all the businesses in New Jersey. Let's go one step further and zoom out. Same year, 2023. The US has 33.2 million small businesses registered, approximately 99% of the businesses in the country. See where I'm going? Let me bring a little more clarity into it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Approximately $255 million, and you guys can fact check me, you can go ahead and Google your little to your heart's content this evening. $255 million of federal funding passes through New Jersey through various organizations, okay? On average, if you divide that by 953,000, we're spending about $268 per business. So 255 million, wow, that really sounds like a lot of money, maybe for an individual business. But when you're talking about what the investment is on just government programs that support, there's not enough funds there for that. Approximately 163 billion in federal spending, but limited support services on how to prepare for that. So why did I not give you a figure that talks about how much money the federal government spends on supporting businesses? It's kind of bundled into that. You experienced some of that here at ProcurementCon. Folks that went and learned about working for the Defense Industrial Base and the Navy and what they're looking to buy. That's bundled in to the activities that they do to try to get you access to that. But based on what I see in New Jersey alone, if we did get to the actual number and figure that's actually being spent to support those businesses, to help them prepare for those procurement opportunities, to help them see the hope in the short term and the long term, not a lot of people doing that. There is a lot of people teaching that. There is a lot of people talking about that, but there's not a lot of people doing that. So what's the national issue that this nonprofit is dealing with? Local economies. And what does a healthy local economy look like? That term has been thrown around a lot. How many of you live in neighborhoods with a Starbucks, with a Home Depot, with a Lowe's, with McDonald's, with Dunkin' Donuts, yada, 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 yada? Corporations understand how to build, be entrenched, and grow in local economies. They use advanced data sets to figure out who buys what, and we buy it. How many, by a show of hands, have heard support local businesses? You don't have to keep your hands up, but think to yourself, how many of you do support local businesses? Sometimes those businesses don't have the hours that you need. Sometimes they don't provide the service that you need. Sometimes they did open up, but they didn't know how to market, so nobody showed up, and then they closed their doors. So who's there to help them? Corporations are able to figure out if it's a good idea to set up shop in a community before a single hammer gets swung. Small businesses don't have that. We have to just kind of jump in and figure it out. So a healthy economy, first of all, a local economy is any sort of activity that in a geographic region that speaks about the area's spending and wealth. I want to emphasize the word wealth. Without wealth, you can't raise individual people out of poverty. And isn't that what small businesses do here in America, in the United States? Isn't that what Gladys was talking about when she was up here? An opportunity to grow beyond the wage, to earn money beyond her needs and create opportunities for other people. So that's what a healthy economy is, spending and wealth in a geographic town, region, local area. You don't hear a lot about that. We're all kind of attached to our devices, and we can tell you with dead accuracy sometimes what's happening in another country, more so than what's happening on your main street. A healthy economy produces the following. It produces education, actionable education. I did learn physics. I learned trigonometry. I dissected animals in college and high school. I didn't do it again when I came out for business. So education that applies to your business, education that applies to the economy. It produces employment. Those numbers that I mentioned earlier, if just one of those 953,000 businesses generated enough money to cover a single person's salary, that would be almost 1 million jobs. And that's really all it kind of takes. Social connections and social supports. Social media is not that. A local economy will create that. A local economy can network with other local businesses. And yes, there are chambers of commerce. But networking is just a piece of building your business. There's the education piece, there's the preparation piece, and a lot of times these organizations are not able to do that. It improves the distribution of wealth. If you have people investing and growing in those communities, guess what they do? They want to stay there, they want to invest, they want to create jobs, they purchase buildings, they improve the neighborhood, they improve the town. It creates a community mindset towards the preservation and growth of local opportunities. It increases opportunities to align resources to support local interests. I will focus again on the word local interest. If you are a local business It is in your best interest to figure out what your local interests are. Are those not your customers? If they're not your customers, don't you have to comply to do business in that town? Would you want to be surprised that you're out of compliance? Get to know where you live. Make those sort of connections. So what's the national? It's, as Eric said, what a mouthful. I mean, could we have come up with any longer of a nonprofit name? But we wanted to make sure that when people read that name, they knew what we're about. And we're the National Center for Local Business and Workforce Development. It's a nonprofit that addresses this challenge that I'm talking about head on. And the challenge is, small business is the backbone of America, in the 90th percentile of it. But the support isn't there. So here I am at the tail end of my career, not able to let go of the fact that I was not able to make significant changes within government, within education, and even directly within small business. I am very successful with Gambit Services and helping those individual businesses navigate to success. But how many can Rafael Mata and his team actually help? Not a million. So I needed to get the word out. I needed to hook up with like-minded individuals like Mark, Slotnick, like Eric Vincent, like Sheila Harris, like Marquise, and like so many other people that know this is a challenge. The National will take federal, state, and local government opportunities that are really unattainable and are too expensive for small businesses and make them attainable. Now, you can say a lot of things about how kooky Eric might be to be so bold as to launch a ProcurementCon event, but no one can say it was unaffordable. No one can say that anyone couldn't come here to learn and make something of these connections. These things take bold, decisive action. Being a trailblazer is a scary place to be. People don't see this vision that I'm describing until you actually start to see it come to fruition. Other issues is that support services come in the form of teaching and not direct business services. What am I talking about? One of the key pillars of the National is going to be direct business services. If you have been part of an accelerator, part of a workshop, part of a small business program, anywhere, be it in universities, nonprofits, and otherwise, they are usually restricted to only guide, counsel, and direct. It takes someone with Gladys's perseverance to be able to turn these into opportunities. But what we want the National to do is we want to make it just a little easier. Yes, you need perseverance to be in business, but do you need to run into the wall when so many others before you have already done that? And we have the key players around the table? What is the National for? It's for workforce training that is not, the workforce training is not being driven by small businesses and local partners. That's a huge problem. If you look at many of the workforce trainings that are out there, they're mostly catered to corporations or larger companies that are already doing well. Who is giving a voice to small businesses about what their training needs are? Remember what I said about one employee per business. The problem in this country is described as two separate businesses. We have a struggling small business sector, and we have stagnating jobs. It's the same coin, two sides. If you help the small businesses grow, you automatically create jobs. And you create local jobs. And let's be honest, with all these automations and the global economy afoot, if you don't create local jobs, there will be no jobs. And that's really the crisis that we're looking to try to avoid and address. The other issue is corporations continue to pick up market share as small businesses struggle and drown in compliance. If you're a small business, then you know that you jump in front of the computer and you're wondering to yourself, what's the next bomb that I'm gonna get hit with? What is the next certification, registration, or any of these things that I'm gonna have to take on, or another cost that I have to do to comply to continue doing business? For a corporation, it's a bump in the road. Depending on what that compliance piece is for the small business, it could end that small business. It could ruin his year. He may not be able to operate. A good example of that is in COVID. Many people may not realize how it was for restaurant owners. But in the height of COVID, restaurants were shut down and they were unable to operate. There's no safety net for a small business restaurant owner. You know what happens when they shut your restaurant down? You don't eat. You don't pay your rent. You can't pay your employees. You spin into crisis. You take on additional debt. You hope that the problems go away. You can't afford anybody to help you get out of the sinking hole. That's what small businesses are really dealing with. How will the national move the needle? How will we make this happen? The way forward is to bolster and support local economies and local voices. You'll be networking like this in local areas in South Jersey. You'll see us in multiple towns all over the state of New Jersey. But more importantly, you'll see us nationally. This is a national program. Communities that are actually looking to get together and partner and create bustling local economies and create jobs in their areas will want to partner with organizations like us. We don't replace others. We work with other organizations. We're the missing piece. Nobody wants to do these sort of direct services for small businesses. They can't afford a lawyer at $3,000 to $4,000 per transaction. They can't afford accounting services at several $1,000s. These are little issues that we can help them with. The way forward is to help businesses scale, to help them operate better, and to help participate more efficiently in the economy. And ultimately, in helping those small businesses grow, we're creating more jobs. Not only jobs with livable wages. How about jobs with livable wages? How about being able to pay your rent with your check? How about if you really work hard and you wanted to start your family, maybe both you and your wife or your wife and the husband doesn't have to work 60 hours a week and pay ridiculous amounts of childcare. Maybe we can work with childcare centers and figure out how the community can rally around the workforce. So what's our mission? I feel like I need to read it. And I want it to be on the record so that a year from now, when we're all getting together again, or you're watching us on social media, you know that this was the beginning of a movement and not just a nonprofit. Our mission: the National Center of Local Business and Workforce Development equips entrepreneurs, equips employees, equips small businesses, and local stakeholders with the resources, the guidance, and service needed to create wealth and escape poverty. Many small businesses live in poverty. By bringing federal, state, corporate, and local resources into the local communities and providing standing direct services, and I'll explain that briefly, to the workforce and local businesses, we catalyze local economies and help communities help themselves. If you're an entrepreneur, you've heard this saying before. Excuse my informality. Ain't nobody coming for us. Nobody's coming for us. We're in the desert. There's limited water. There's no special chopper. There's no special crew. You have to figure it out. You have to get out of that situation and you have to turn it around. But the national is gonna be here at your back, and the national is gonna be here to prop you up. How do we empower communities? I talked about direct services. If you've gotten help as a business before, what you're usually told is, I can show you how to do it. I can send you to a website. Here, take this brochure, call this person, go to this conference, and hopefully you meet with this person, and if he has some time for you, him or her, he can tell you how to do that. Get these certifications first and see what happens. The National will have a network of small business advocates and local partners that can guide you to solutions that are going to create immediate actions right away. So we're going to empower communities through direct services. Either you want to pay the nonprofit to do it for you, that's okay. But maybe the community is so distressed that they can't even afford a few $100 to do the service or have somebody help them. How about if we create labs? How about if we get 10 to 20 people together at a local library, a local restaurant, a lounge, something right within walking distance in the community, and we walk that person through their operating agreement. We walk that person through setting up their bookkeeping, their chart of accounts, and just have a general understanding of what they're doing, even if they hand it over to someone else. I love you, but you don't like to Eric, I'm not done yet. I'm still within my 5 minutes. Sucker. I am almost done. We're going to provide a platform for all community members to be heard and be part of uplifting communities. And we're going to help bundle resources. How can you help? Most important thing, you're here, so thank you for that. Thank you for entrusting us with your time. Thank you for coming to listen about the National with me and hopefully follow us. But you should connect with a board member this evening. And maybe you can bring a challenge that your community has right now, and maybe we can begin to tackle that. Maybe you can help us identify and recruit small business consultants and advocates that are passionate about helping people, that want to help the people in their own communities, so we can create contract work for them or even employment to help their own communities thrive. Maybe you want to fund our services through donation or under a service contract serving those communities. Maybe you want to connect us with community partners, educational institutions that complement our direct services and our business service model. We're not looking for handouts. We're looking for performance. Maybe you could share our success on social media and state events when you find out about them. Or maybe you can join the movement by helping other young professionals figure out how to help the local economy and help themselves at the same time. So with that said, I want to just reiterate that it's about 4 minutes and 59 seconds. And if I say that, Eric will believe that I stayed on time. I hope to speak to all of you individually. I hope that you continue to watch the progress of the National and that you continue to attend events like ProcurementCon that are going to connect the dots for you. And eventually, when this nonprofit is rolling next year, is going to help you actually get those things done and move you towards your dream. Thank you very much.